introduction, but we want to record.
Okay, perfect.
So Colette and I are so excited to be here.
Oh no.
Here with all of you tonight. Play a little music. You did a great job, Colette. Thank you so much. One of Randy's favorites, In the Mood, because Randy's always getting us in the mood. And I know, Renee, you're here to do the same, but you are in for a treat tonight. For those of you who have not, which I would be shocked if you haven't had the opportunity to be in front of Randy Schrader and one of his trainings, you are definitely in for a treat. What I love about Randy most is his enthusiasm is contagious. You can see by what it brings to not only him, but all of his team members that he brings on, like Renee, when watching her be amazing and thrive. It's no wonder, because Randy is an incredible teacher, trainer, mentor to not just his team members. He is to many people in the company who are willing to listen to his trainings. I have known of Randy for many, many years, and it has been my absolute pleasure to have been able to rub shoulders with him this last almost 2 years now, and to really, truly understand all the incredible things that I knew of him are absolutely 100% true. And you are going to get a small taste of the incredibleness that is him. And I know that he's going to bring the amazing Renee on as well. And I'll let you say some incredible things about Renee, since I only have known her for a short period of time, and you obviously know a lot more about her, but I have absolutely loved what she's done. I've enjoyed seeing her and her grow and be amazing as well. But I know that that is a little chip off the old block. I know we say we can't take credit for your successes or your failures, but Randy, you definitely can take some amazing credit for the incredible trainer that you are. So with that, Randy, we're going to turn it over to you and the beautiful Renee. Thank you.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for that kind and wonderful introduction. I will properly introduce my counterpart, Renee, here in a moment. But first, it's always really, really important to me that anybody who chooses to invest these few minutes with us, or this hour, whatever it is we spend together, that you get something from it, whether or not it has anything to do with business. And so I just want to give you one quick idea right now, because I'd like you to join me in the pursuit of a simple idea. Let's all be more happy more of the time. And I can just give you one simple idea about how to become more happy more of the time before we even shift gears and talk about our business. And that is simply this: have very, very high expectations of yourself, but have only acceptance of the performances, of the attitudes, and the actions of others. When I was expecting something of somebody else, you know what? I was always miserable. When I had high expectations of anyone but me, it always seemed to lead me in the wrong direction. When I have expectations of only one person, I have very, very, very high expectations of me, but I have only acceptance of every single thing that anyone else does. And that's a simple key to being more happy more of the time. That being said, Renee and I this evening are going to share with you a series of principles. I will properly introduce Renee in a moment, but we're going to introduce a series of principles. And for me, I think of my entire life as a fabric that is woven together. I can't separate my family from my business because they're intertwined. Samantha and Bosco are in my business. I can't separate my recovery world from my business, because if I separate my recovery from anything, then it all kind of goes to naught. For me, it is all one combined. It is all one that comes together. It is a fabric that is woven together tightly, and with each one of the different colors and threads complementing one another. So those who know me know that one of the facts of my life is that for a number of years, I was literally buried in alcoholism and drug addiction, and I was unable to stop drinking and doing drugs. And one day things got bad enough that I wanted to be alcohol and drug free worse than I wanted anything else in my life, worse than I wanted to breathe. And at that point, I was introduced to a fellowship, and one part of the program is that we don't describe ourselves as any kind of a figure in it. I am not. I'm simply one of the guys on the bus. But finally, one day, getting and staying sober mattered more to me than anything else. And I heard that there was a program, there was a book that had been written in 1939. And this is one of my treasures now. There are now 30 million copies of this book in circulation. This is one of the first 5,000. It's called the first edition, first print. And the very early in the book, and the forward to this first edition, it says, "We of," the name of the organization, Alcoholics Anonymous, "we of Alcoholics Anonymous are more than 100 men and women who have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. And to show other alcoholics precisely how we have recovered is the main purpose of this book." Because everything is all woven together for me, then I take that thought and that logic. The reason I grabbed a hold of it is because I was told that my problem could be overcome if I was willing to follow precisely the guidance that was given me, that to show others how they had accomplished the task at hand was the primary purpose of this book. And there was to be no luck and no guesswork, but that would be precision, precisely. And I want you to know that many years ago, a gentleman named Nathan laid out a format for me that showed me precisely how to become profitable and effective in the network marketing industry. Now, what he taught me did not teach me how to develop leadership attributes. That took more time. I could gather that by observing him, but I wasn't involved with Nathan in a leadership development program. He didn't teach me how to do things like calm my ego and to try to eliminate self-centered fear from my life. He didn't teach me those things. But what he did teach me was a proved and predictable pattern of activities. And I can tell you right now that to show other erstwhile participants in our company, fledgling entrepreneurs, precisely how to recover is the primary purpose, not just of this conversation, not how to recover, how to succeed is the primary purpose of this discussion. And so with that being said, I want you all to know that as whatever you know the best, wherever your highest and strongest and greatest bank of knowledge resides, that is the way that I know and understand the practices and principles that are required to succeed in the development of a large, successful organization within the context of direct selling, which of course then would encompass NELO Life. And I want you to know that there is no luck and there is no guesswork. There is precision. And if you are willing to follow the guidance that is given at the outset in learning a simple set of rudimentary practices, which is what we're going to discuss tonight, and then move that on into an ongoing, literally lifetime process of personal growth and development, and then helping others do the same, then we can not just build successful sales organizations in a company, but we can build a life of unbelievable joy. Now, that being said, it's my friend Renee Hall. I've known Renee, gosh, Renee, it must be getting close to a decade, huh? Has to be about that.
Randy, I met you about, well, Bosco was a baby. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
And it was the big event there in San Diego with Canaway.
Okay,
And
perfect.
I was excited. I brought like 4 or 5 people from Louisiana with me. And we had this meeting in this small room, very small, and it was packed. And you were up front and we were in the back because we had spent so much time with Dr. Titus. And you started speaking and I kind of interrupted you. Big mistake. Anyway, I said, I'm sorry, we can't hear back here. And you said, well, maybe you should move to the front. And I said, I looked at Carol and I said, well, Carol, let's move to the front. Well, there were no seats in the front. So Carol and I just went straight to the front and plopped our little booties down on the floor there and showed you, okay, buddy, we'll come up to the front.
I think that is awesome.
Yeah.
And by the way, Renee has kept coming to the front since then. She's
Yes.
kept coming to the front since that
Yep.
first time that I met her. And by the way, I'm an advocate for every single participant of this company. It matters not to me if you're in my group or you're not. I'm an advocate for all. My organization, our organization cannot be healthy in a company that's not healthy. So whomever you are, wherever you find yourself in the structure and organization, we are your advocates as well. But in my own particular groups, not large, we're just starting. We have about 1,150 people. And the very first one of those to become 4-star was Renee. I mean, she's been moving to the front since the time that I met her. That's what's been going on. And that'll be illustrated a little bit as we now go through this process. So I indicated that we would describe to you a proved and predictable pattern of activities. And earlier today, Renee and I spoke, and she said, so Randy, what are we going to talk about? And I said, well, Renee, I don't want you to be scripted. And I don't want you to say something that you prepared to say in the next hour. I want you to say something you've been preparing to say for the last 7 or 8 or 9 years. And therefore, it needed to be spontaneous as opposed to scripted and prepared. And it's one of the reasons that I so prefer conversations to presentations, because conversations aren't scripted. And quite frequently, being scripted means you're prepared, but sometimes being scripted is also a little bit less authentic. And so Renee's an authentic person. That's why I chose to do it this way. So Renee and I have been walking this path, the same path that I was taught 33 years ago. And Renee has been an advocate and a devotee and the one who has benefited herself and other people's lives by following that path. And so Renee would, of course, know that the first step in getting started correctly is not just to enroll. It's not just to enroll in our company. It is to enroll, and it is to then replace the fact that we don't have a big financial commitment. I'm going to say it again. Recently, you've heard me encouraging you to buy an annual membership, not a monthly membership. And I've been encouraging you to acquire an executive pack if that is appropriate. But let's assume you did that. That is still a very, very small investment. I mean, Renee, if you and I opened a Subway sandwich shop, it wouldn't be less than $2,000, right? It'd be a very different thing. And so we need to replace the barrier of exit that would typically be there in a conventional business. If we open a restaurant and we're struggling in 30 days, we don't quit. We figure out what we have to do differently. And so there has to be a mental and emotional barrier of exit that supplants the fact that there's not a financial hook. So I've known Renee now for this number of years, and I've never seen her quit at anything. But that's the truth. She doesn't quit. One company left her hanging high and dry, but she didn't quit. I mean, she just flat doesn't quit. And so that tells me that she has a mental and emotional barrier of exit. And so to the extent that it's not too personal for you, where I want to start is, what is your mental and emotional barrier of exit? Why do you do what's required to succeed today if yesterday was disappointing? Why do you show up this month if last month was disappointing? And why have I never seen you quit?
Because I have new grandkids now, and this world is crazy. And, we may have money in 401ks and we may, have things going great, but I've seen a real estate crash where we had a huge development and, at no fault of my own, I couldn't sell a house. And I was afraid we were going to go bankrupt because, we had a house note, we had all these things. That was 2008. And we had just started our second development. So it was a very scary time. Well, I see my kids are hard work. My adult children are hard workers, but I know with my grandkids, I'm 65 and I don't know how long I'm going to live on this earth. So I want to leave a legacy for them. I want to have a residual income. I want them to travel the world. I want them to see all these things. I plan to take them on trips, spectacular trips that I can share with them. And so that's not cheap either, but thank goodness for NELO Life, it's going to be less expensive. So, but
Beautiful.
those grandkids, that's my why. I want them to not have to worry about what happens in this world and to be taken care of. Now I know God's going to take care of them, but he expects us to do our part too.
Thank you. So folks, as it works out, I personally do a new member orientation almost every day. And in the new member orientation, we go through the steps to getting started correctly, one of which is number one. Don't just join, but create a mental and emotional barrier of exit. There must be a reason, a purpose that is greater than any obstacle that we might encounter. Renee just described that her desire to provide security and financial flexibility for her grandchildren is bigger than the various obstacles that I've seen her overcome over the course of the last several years. Her desire for success is greater than the obstacle that she's encountered. Now, for those of you who are not yet doing new member orientations on a daily or frequent basis, I encourage you to think about it for a moment, write it down, print it out, and put it on your mirror and recite it aloud at least once per day until such time as you are doing new member orientations all the time. I couldn't possibly forget why it is that I do what I do, because I explain it to other people every day. And no matter how often I explain it, it still makes me a little bit emotional, because it is more important to me. It's more important to me than the obstacles I might encounter. Second step in getting started correctly, of course, is to place an appropriate initial order. And over the course of the last few days, you've heard me urging what I think is an appropriate initial order, but I'm going to turn it over to Renee and say, Renee, you're bringing a new person into the business and you're helping them determine that which is appropriate. What's an appropriate initial order? What does that mean to you?
To me, it's the maximum they can afford, because you don't, like you always say, you don't start a dress boutique shop without some dresses. And I love the samples that we got at the Dallas event. And so I have ordered my own bottles, I've created my own labels, and I don't leave home without my samples. So you have to have, your inventory. You have to have something that you can help share with others. And I'll be in the grocery store. Hey, how's it been going? Well, I just had surgery. Oh my goodness. I just had a horrible water skiing event, and I took this Stellamar, and it was phenomenal in helping me with my pain. Here, let me give you a sample. And by the way, let me make sure I got your contact, because I want to send you the video that will explain what this is all about. I know you're shopping, we got groceries. And so you take these, it's one a day. I'll send you the video, and then I'll get back with you in 10 days when you're finished. Or if you have any questions, you'll have my contact and you can call and ask me anything you might need to know.
Cool. Okay. So
So
Renee
they
said,
need extra. What I'm saying is they need extra. It's
correct,
not just about, this
personal
or that.
consumption.
You have to have inventory. You have to have
Right.
something that you can share with others.
Okay. And so Renee said the most you can afford. I would agree with that. The only qualifier I'd put on it, it should be consistent with one's goals, objectives, willingness to work, and so on. Plenty of people that I meet can afford anything, but they don't plan on working. Well, if they don't plan on working, then there's no reason to acquire an executive pack, right? So we just apply that little bit of common sense to it. Thank you. Now, at step number 3, and by the way, I'll give you all a simple bit of advice, or not advice, I call this commentary. If I'm addressing a crowd of 3 or 30 or 300 or 3,000, what I know is this: if 2 out of the 3 or of 20 of the 30. If I ask them, can you tell me right now, what is step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10? How do you execute it? What's the upside for proper execution? What's the corresponding downside for improper execution? If 2 out of 3 people in the room know the answer and are at least trying to develop the skills to execute upon that answer, the organization is going to succeed. It's going to get big. If less than 2 out of 3 know that answer, it's going to float around a little bit. If less than 1 out of 3 know the answer, the organization is going to fail. That's the truth. And so now some of you are saying, oh my gosh, I don't know the answer. That which is measured can be improved. This would be a great time to learn the answer. Step number 3 is to make sure that we have a long enough period of time with the person committed to the process. I don't want a person that is making a decision at the end of every month about whether or not they're going to stay involved in the business. It puts way too much pressure on the first month, the second month. We need to have a long enough runway. And that is why part of an appropriate initial order for me, given the recent ability to do an annual enrollment, is what should happen. For those for whom it hasn't happened yet, then you should consider whether or not that would be an appropriate thing. That's part of an appropriate initial order. But now we come down to what I've always called smart ship or auto ship. In our case, it would be qualifying activity in our membership. Renee wouldn't know this, but I am that which is measured can be improved, and I do a scan of the various those that I would think of as in leadership roles in my organization, and I measure the percentage of people in their group who are qualified, who are commission qualified, who are staying active in a given month. Renee doesn't know this, but as it turns out, her organization does more volume than any other organization in my group. That's not hard to figure out. It is because they have a more appropriate average initial order than anyone else in my business. And it is because she has about a 35% long and only this tiny 5 little month window. People who join Renee stay active in the company more than does my group generally. And so, Renee, I'm not sure exactly what you do differently than some do, but people who join you have a greater likelihood in your group. There's a greater likelihood that they are still paying their membership fee in absence of the annual enrollment. They're still paying their membership fee in larger measure than people in my group generally. So how? What is that about? What is the emphasis? What do you teach about staying qualified, staying active, not disappearing if the results aren't what they want the first week?
Well, we love the products. We need the products. We enjoy taking the products. And of course, most of my group is over 60. So we definitely need the products.
Okay.
But I help them with, like, when I print those labels, I print it out for my whole group. I say, here's where you can get those jars for Amazon. Here's where you can get the little plastic baggies at Michael's. And here, I use 10 Stella Mars per packet, because that's what it took for me. And I just encourage them that, see, I had an ad agency, and you've got to market this stuff. You can't just sit around and hope that somebody's going to try it. So I see that as part of your cost of doing business. I mean, my smart ship or my basic purchase every month is the largest bundle, because that's the least way to afford it. That's the best way to afford it. And I feel comfortable that I'm going to have plenty, and I'm going to have plenty to share. I even, if I have some in my group that say, I can't do the samples right now, I'll say, okay, who is it? Is this important? And I've helped provide them with some samples, because I know that these products are proven. They're phenomenal, and you see results instantly. We didn't, a lot of companies, you don't see that. So it's tough to do. I think this is probably the easiest and most, I don't know. I feel good about handing these samples out, because I know they're going to say, wow, this is great. And so I'm not bothering them. I'm helping them. And I ask them if they want to try it. I don't push it on them. And they absolutely do. I guess because they see how great I'm feeling, and, that they know that I care. And so.
That's what she just said, folks. And you already know she cares, doesn't she? She didn't have to say that right then. You already knew it. That's why the group sticks together at a higher level. They stick together because they know that their leader cares. And that by itself lengthens the runway. If we focus too much on ourselves, nothing good happens. When we're able to take the focus off of us and focus on somebody else, and whether or not that's something Renee had to learn to do, or whether that's part of her character from birth, I don't know. But the reason, in my opinion, that her group has greater tenacity. And the reason that her group is the largest in terms of volume right now in my organization is because her home is the gathering place. It's because people come from far around and they know that they're welcome at Renee's, and it's a community. When we talk about a community, it's something more than a business. If a person's involved in Renee's group, they're involved in something more than a business. And that's important because it will take some people a while to make any money. Okay. Step number 4 is there's probably not a step in our company that is being less properly applied than this one. Quite a few are not being especially properly applied. I get questions every day from people that they're in the back office. They're in the back office. I'm not a customer service agent. I don't want you to be a customer service agent. And so step number 4, we give an assignment to review the back office completely over the course of the first 30 days, clicking on every single link that's in that back office. But now we have to extend that a little bit because Orkan and his group, in my mind, are absolute wizards. I mean, the pace of new development is incredible. And so even if you did a complete total back office review last month, you're completely out of date this month. And so we give an assignment to do a complete total back office review. I won't get any further description of that, but Renee, you've been around this for a period of time. You've been involved in a couple of companies that are really good companies that have benefited people. And again, I didn't ask you in advance what the answer would be to this. And I have not been in your world all that time, but have you ever seen, irrespective of the size of the company, have you ever seen a technology group like the group we have at this company?
Honestly, have not. And I'll tell you, before the CBD company, I was with a skincare company, and they would put out a few videos on Instagram and that kind of thing, but we had nothing compared to
And a
what
big
we have.
company, right? Not a small company, a big company you're talking about.
It was huge, yes.
Yes.
And I'm just blown away. And then like I was doing the slide presentation, I said, boy, it would be nice if I had a Stellamar and a new Melts. And before I got ready to do it, bam, here you go.
Right.
I was like, whoa. I mean, they are amazing. And the way that they answered the text so quickly, the emails, they truly care. And I just feel so blessed that they've been where we've been, and they know the tools that you need. And it's so professional. And I'm just so proud to be a part of this. And I had an ad agency when I was in my late 20s, early 30s. It was a boutique ad agency, and I had to create my own TV commercials and radio commercials, and it's not easy. Now, that was back in the olden days when we didn't even have cell phones, okay? So hey, you come a long way, baby, and you know what that's from. So anyway, yeah, they blow my mind. Now, I don't know about that what is it? Artificial intelligence. I'm just happy to have my own intelligence. I don't want it artificial.
Okay. So anybody who has been around the direct selling industry, let me explain a reality. The direct selling participant is tied to the company by their check. And I've had people ask me for so many years, why does a direct selling company never have customer service like a non-direct selling company? It's because they're tied to their check. They'll put up with grief that they wouldn't put up with if they were just buying a product, because it's tied to an opportunity. This company does not behave this way. I would challenge you to find a company that has greater operational effectiveness and efficiency, irrespective of how large they are. And we can't do some things that Amazon can because of Amazon's sheer size and scope. But the things we do as well as anybody does. And in my career, in my own experience, better than any company I've been a part of. A back office review. Renee said something a moment ago. I am proud to represent this company. In the various changes of course that I've had along my journey that got me to NELO Life, I've not more than one time I've had an owner of a company say, Randy, what do you really want of us? And I said, I want to never make an excuse for you. That's what I want. I don't want to make excuses for you. I've been involved with this company since April 15th. I haven't made an excuse for the company. I haven't made an apology for the company. The company hits their marks. Step number 5. People periodically query me about why this business seems so easy for me. Because it is. That's why it seems that way. The question is, why is it easy? So that it can seem that way. It is because my belief is so high. Do any of you wonder, is there a single person on the session right now who wonders if what I'm telling you I believe to be true? Is there a single person who doubts that? No. Why? Because Renee, as you know, people hear what we believe far more than they hear the words. The words that come out of our mouth are relatively little importance. It is the belief with which we express them. Proper belief behind the concept will cause others to adapt that concept if those beliefs are correct beliefs. Step number 5 is to build belief. If we want to have a large candidate list, have a high level of belief. If you want your candidate list to be populated with people whose successes in life are equal to or greater than your own, have a big belief. If your belief is small, you'll have a small candidate list, which will be populated with people who have not accomplished as much as you have in your life. And so play that forward. What will happen? Well, they'll likewise follow that same path. They'll have small belief, and their candidate list will be small, and it'll be populated with people with less success. And so what you'll have is this deteriorating V-shaped leadership structure that will one day fall over. It's all determined by belief. If our beliefs are correct and constructive and they're big, then instead we'll grow greater and greater strength as we all become willing to contact people who have accomplished something like we have or even more. It's all about belief. And so Renee, step number 5 is to build belief. In your organization, what do you teach people to do to cause their belief to be constructive? And what do you do to cause your belief to be constructive?
Well, I delve into my back office all the time. And so it keeps my mind on, I learn something every day about my back office, how my business works. But I think my belief really went through the roof in Dallas because I got to be around the founders a lot. And I got to hear Orkhan. Hard. And these guys, I mean, they are real and they really care about us. And that's what it's all about. And they are godly men. And that's who I am. I'm going to tell you that's my strong bond right there. And so I trust them completely. I think we have the same values on how we feel about things. And I think that they are very innovative and oh my goodness, they're very, very forward thinking. And I love how these formulators are bringing products to us. They see the value here. And that just excites me. I know that I'm with something big, something that is only going to get bigger. I love the whole concept. And I build that into my team. They see it. We have a very strong Christian team. That's just who we are. And we pray for each other and we believe in each other. And that's where we're coming from. So to God be the glory.
Beautiful. So folks, you can see why it's easy for Renee, because she's not trying to take something from people. She's trying to give something to people. If it's hard for you to encourage somebody else to get into our business, because you're trying to figure out what can you get out of it, when instead you're trying to consider how can you give to somebody as a result of this, then all of a sudden it becomes easier every day for each person. And the specific assignment that I give to people is to not allow one day to go by. And I only give the assignment for 100 days because people can't envision a lifetime. But I tell people, your first 100 days, don't allow one day to go by where you don't do something to constructively build your belief in what? In yourself first, second, in the community. Yourself first, then the community, then the product, and then the company, and so on. But if you do something constructive every day to build that belief, then the belief will be effervescent. If your belief is relatively low, in fact, let's say if you just imagine belief as being in a bucket, if your belief is less than half full, you will think about the business. It'll torment you. You'll think about it so much, but you'll never tell a darn person about it. If your belief is above the halfway mark, but lower than the 3/4 mark, it'll be hard. It'll be grudging. Every contact will be difficult. You'll be full of fear, but you can make it. If your belief is effervescent and over the top, if you think you have a gift for other people, you will give it to them. If you believe you have a gift, you'll give it to them. You'll help them unwrap it, and you'll help them construct it. And that's why Renee succeeds, because that's what she does. Now, step number 6 is to recognize that it's a simple activity to write down a list of names, but it is a developable skill to learn to live our lives in such a way that our candidate list grows in front of us. That's a developable skill. And one thing before I turn this over to Renee. What you showing me? I can't read it. What's it say?
My list for this
Beautiful.
time.
Okay, good. Fabulous. Okay. So it is a developable skill to learn to live our lives so that our candidate list grows in front of us. It is the absolute truth. Let me rephrase that. There's only one thing that Nathan taught me that, as I look back, wound up being wrong. What he taught me was that the most important of the 4 skills required to succeed was knowing how to invite, knowing what to say, and knowing what not to say, so that my candidate would open their eyes, their ears, and their hearts to possibility. Now that coincides with step number 7. Step number 6 is what? Learning to live our life in such a way that our candidate list grows in front of us. Why do I believe that Nathan was wrong? Because what I've discovered is this: if you don't want to be in business with me, then my skills would have to be almost unbelievably high. I don't want to be in business with Randy. He doesn't tell the truth. He's arrogant. I smelled alcohol on his breath. He's married and he's hitting on women in the bar. I don't want to be in business with that guy. See, it doesn't matter how well developed my skills are. It doesn't matter how much knowledge I have. If people don't want to be in business with me, then skills and knowledge are for naught. And so I've come to believe that the single most important thing that we can do is develop a character such that other people want to be in association with us. Why is this business relatively easier for Renee than it is for some people? Because she's lovable. What's lovable about her? She's generous. Well, she's kind. She's not arrogant. She cares. See, because people want to be in business with Renee, then she doesn't have to have, and she also has, she's worked to develop the skills, but she doesn't have to have the perfect inviting script. Oh, well, if Renee's doing it, then I should listen. That's totally different than, my God, I don't want to be in business with Renee, And so we lose track when we're focused on skill development first. We're going backwards. We have to focus on character development first. If you want to know how to attract someone who on the scale of life success is a 6 and you're a 5, you know how to do it? Well, one way is to work so hard to learn how to invite. The other way is to become a 6, because 6s will not respond very readily to 5s. If you want to populate your business full of 7s at the same time bringing along all the 1s, 2s, and 3s, you'll never do it as a 5, ever. The way to do it is to become a 7. And so, anyway, I'm rambling here, but Renee, tell people how do you coach and guide a newcomer in your business whose candidate list will be exhausted 30, 60 days from now? What do they do to continue to develop those relationships, to develop their candidate lists, so they're not relying upon somebody else to bring in the newcomer 60 days from now?
Well, like I was telling you, even when I'm in the grocery store, if I see someone that I know, I go up and I just say, "Hey, hadn't seen you in a while. How's it been going?" And, a lot of times they'll ask me, my husband battled cancer. How's David's cancer? And I say, completely cured. We're so grateful. And how's your husband? And just a little short conversation. And anytime I hear something about, we're concerned about he seems to be getting a little dementia, or, well, my dad, we're having to put him in, nursing home. I mean, we're at that age where you hear a lot of this. And so I just strike up a conversation about my experience with that, or, hey, I've just recently discovered something. I keep it very brief. And like I said, I usually have samples there to give to them. But also I'll look through my Facebook, I look on my Facebook post and it'll trigger my mind of somebody I hadn't thought about. And I don't jump right on and say, oh, hey, I might like something, and I might send them a little message. And then I just kind of keep in line with that. But every morning I really get up and I meditate, and I do my devotional and my prayer. And then I do my meditation, and I just also call on God to show me who's out there, remind me of who I need to talk to. At church, I'll look at people and hear about surgery they're having, or things that are going on with people that I care about. And like I said, it's not, and I tell this to my team, go out there and you're helping people. You're not bothering them. They need this. And a lot of times we can get them off the pharmaceuticals and help them enjoy life again. A lot of times they say, oh, well, they don't travel much. We're not a travel company. We are a health, wellness, we are a membership. And, they may be down and out. Well, we've got some live streaming that I think might help you. There's just a lot to offer with NELO Life, and just keep your ears open, your eyes open, and especially your heart open. And that's where God will bring them to you. He's just, he's like,
What
here you go. Bring the sheep
what
in.
what Renee just said, learning to live our lives in such a way that our candidate is coming towards us so we don't have to chase the candidate. That's what you just said. And that is absolutely what I believe. Now, along the way, we must develop a proper inviting skill, because becoming more takes effort. We have to try, and it doesn't happen overnight. Quite frequently, progress is slow. And so it is important that we master the art of the invitation. And that simply means knowing what to say and knowing what not to say, so that our candidate opens their eyes, their ears, and their hearts to the possibility. And the assignment that I give at step number 7 is to listen to the audio entitled Master the Art of the Invitation 90 times in 90 days. And periodically people ask me 90 times, what am I going to learn the 73rd day? I didn't learn the first day. And I remember this. I cited at the very beginning, the critical nature of this book and program in my life. And, somebody gave me my first copy, not a red one like this, not one of these, but he gave me my first book in 1982, in my sobriety days, 2011. There was a long time where the truth was available to me, had been given to me, and I did not act upon it. I didn't act upon it. And what I learned as I look back upon that experience is that nobody really was able to impart upon me that they were interested in me, in my success. And when I finally became aware that somebody wanted me to succeed for reasons I could not understand, then the same book that had made no sense to me up until that moment made sense. When other people feel that you care about them for some reason, as opposed to you're racing towards them so they can succeed in a business that benefits you, that's when inviting becomes easy. But I give people the assignment: listen to Mastering the Art of the Invitation 90 times in the next 90 days. People always ask me how to recruit more people. Nobody ever asks me how to retain the ones we've got. Simple message: please, from this instant forward, consider your most important candidate to be the person who's already in your business. That's your most important candidate. If we forget that our most important candidate is the person who's in our business, we will do nothing but churn and churn and churn and churn, constantly in the replacement business instead of the addition of the multiplication business. And that, again, is one of Renee's areas of strength. But this idea of listening 90 times in 90 days, where'd it come from? Somebody gave me this book in 1982. I didn't get to stay sober until 2011. What is up with that? Well, I didn't go 90 times in 90 days. I went sporadically. And one day my sponsor, as it's called, said, Randy, you need to go 90 meetings in 90 days. And I said, well, why? I'm on to plenty. He said, well, how's your way working, Randy? My way wasn't working. And so I would just ask any of you who are resisting anything that we're describing, how's your way working? Are you accomplishing what you want to accomplish? Then keep doing it. But if you're not, then maybe give it an idea that you should watch one video per day for the next 100 days so your belief level is high, so you can spontaneously act. If not, find a way to be focused on what Renee said. She listens. Find a way to listen so we can discover what other people want, so we can give them a guide, a way to accomplish what they want, instead of rushing towards them with our own selfish, self-centered interests. Then realize that if we were to play one brand new piece of music into this session right now, if we heard it one time, and then we didn't hear it again for 90 days, and we all reconvene, it's so, well, gosh, can you tell me, Liz, can you tell me the name of the song? Well, no, I heard it once in 90 days ago. How about Colette? Can you tell me the hymn to beat the melody? Renee, can you tell me the artist? No, I heard it 90 days ago. What if, on the other hand, we heard it every day for the next 90 days? We'd be hymning it when we could forget it, humming it, background. It's always there. It keeps us awake at night. I want it to be that because you know so automatically what to say when someone knocks on your door, and that's the way that I feel. Someone makes a comment, they knock on my door. They tell me why and how and why they need a product or service available in NELO Life. And then because I've come a long ways towards, if not perfecting, a long ways towards mastering the art of the invitation, then I know what to say and what not to say, so my candidate opens their eyes and their ears and their heart to the possibility. I talked a lot about the invitation, Renee. Is there anything you'd like to add to that? Step number 7, any point of emphasis or contrary point?
No, I think you've pretty well covered it. And yeah, you came in and did our boot camp, and that's what I stressed before you came. I said,
right,
y'all need to listen to that Mastering the Art of the Invitation every day. And I did a little incentive thing where those that did it, they would send me a little text every day, a little check on a text. And so I kept up with who all, we only had, I think, 30, 45 days before you were coming. And there was about 3 or 4 that got a gift for listening like they were supposed to. So
right.
Sometimes if you incentivize, that helps.
Yeah, it has willingness to act. Okay. So if we know how to develop a candidate list. That is the skill associated with step number 6. Then, if we know what to say to that candidate, so they open their eyes and their ears to the hearts to the possibility, that then takes the pressure off the presentation. If you don't know how to invite, the pressure is on the presentation. If you don't know how to live your life in such a way that the candidate list grows in front of you and is moving towards you, then that puts the pressure on knowing how to invite. But if I know how to live my life in such a way that a candidate would seek to be in association with me, then if I've learned how to listen so that I can give them a solution to a problem they've got, that's basically what mastering the art of the invitation is, knowing what to say based upon that knowledge. Then we come to the third skill. It's associated with step number 8, which is to learn to present the business in a fashion that can duplicate. So Renee, you bring a new person to the business, you're doing a new member orientation. How do you tell them to present the business, or what do you do from that moment?
Well, the first thing I do is I say, listen by your family and close friends, because you're telling them, I'm doing something new. I need your support. And it kind of takes the pressure off. You say, look, this is, I want you to come in and check out what I'm doing. And so, it's, you feel kind of comfortable because this is your people, right?
Right.
And, I like how we're doing the product showcase.
Mhm.
And I like to have samples there. And sometimes those samples are what entice them to come.
Right.
You don't have to you can just have some water, or if you're used to serving a glass of wine, that's fine. It depends on who you're inviting and who's coming. But you don't have to put out a whole bunch of food, and you don't have to do a whole lot of uh, prep. I like to set out my products there on display. And it's funny, a relative came in from California, and I had forgotten to take I just leave it out there, but if it's not a problem. And he came in, he says, "Oh, great. I didn't get to see all the stuff in the life shop." So
Okay.
he's going, "This is wonderful." So yeah, you put your products out there. You gave us a great example of that in Dallas, how let the videos do the work for you.
Right.
And some of the presentations that, Dr. Titus worked up for us. And then I did request maybe we get a good Stellamar type presentation. We have a great video, of course, but just have a slide presentation. So, it brings up some questions, but have everybody explain their name and make them comfortable that they're there and why they're there and what they're excited to learn about from the presentation. And, just kind of let them show you their interest. Don't push it on them. And if they don't want samples, that's okay, but, and don't get upset. Not everybody's going to jump in and say, "Woo, I want this," so just go easy on yourself and, just continue doing it, continue practicing, and it's going to eventually be very successful for you.
Thank you. So this idea of learning to present the business, I'm glancing at my clock a couple of times here because we're not going to get through the ladder of escalation. There is the elements required for success: product, company, timing, comp plan, training and support, leadership development. Check all those boxes. 10 steps to getting started correctly. We've now described the first 8. And then there's a daily mechanism of operation that is called the ladder of escalation. And if one understands those 3 columns and becomes willing to act upon that information, then I'm willing to tell you that you will have success. The magnitude of that success, I don't know, because that hasn't yet addressed. To some degree, that addressed character development, leadership processes, but I will tell you that you will succeed. Now, think again about the simplicity of it. How much talent or skill is required to create a mental, emotional barrier of exit and read it aloud every day? None. What is required? Willingness to do so. How much talent or skill is required to place whatever is for you an appropriate initial order? Remember Renee said a minute ago, people come to her home and they see the product display that was there. They see things that are in the live shop that are not in the executive pack. Does she have a better chance for success because she has on hand? That's what justifies the initial order, the appropriate initial order back at step number 2. See, none of this is by accident and none of it is happenstance, and it's not vague. It is because we're going to do these things, and this is the process that gets us there. And so it takes no talent or skill. Step number 2, it takes understanding and willingness. It takes no talent or skill to commit to a minimum of 12 months. And in my estimation, or financially prudent, that should be an annual membership. It takes no talent or skill to review the back office and have knowledge. And it certainly takes no talent or skill to watch a video every day to cause your belief to be constructive. Now we get to those first 5 steps require only willingness. They require no more. And now we get to skill development, learning to live our lives so our candidate list goes in front of us, learning to invite, mastering the art of the invitation, learning to present the business in a fashion that can duplicate, and then new member orientations. And I'm going to just quickly describe that because then I want to talk to Renee about something else. The new member orientation process, Renee and I have gone through 9 of the 10. Well, this is the 9th step in the 10 steps to getting started correctly. The way that we do it, send somebody the video first, have them watch the video. They should never have their first introduction to the 10 steps be their new member orientation. They watch it first. They know what they're in for. They're prepared, and we make plans behind it. We schedule their first home business reviews. We schedule their first private small group presentations. It's a 10-step based process, 10 steps and ladder of escalation. Now, only 10 days ago, well, how long ago was Dallas? Was it 2 weeks yet? In the middle of the month and it's the end of the month. So about 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks, yeah.
So 2 weeks ago, Renee she had all the exact same talents 2 weeks ago that she has today. I mean, the talents God chose to grace her with, that was done. She had nothing to do with that. Those talents were there. Okay. In the 2 weeks since then, I know Renee, she pushes herself against the grinding wheel of life. She tries. But, she's a fairly highly developed person, and I doubt if she's made any tremendous personal breakthroughs in the last 2 weeks. There's slow, gradual, subtle changes that happen if we've been trying for a long time. And so she's probably improved a little bit in a couple of areas, but her talent is the same as it was. Her character could not be substantially different today than it was 2 weeks ago, maybe modestly improved. Her skills could not be dramatically different. But 2 weeks ago, she came into Dallas as a 2-star. And then while at Dallas, she became a 3-star. And immediately after Dallas, she became a 4-star, or maybe while still in Dallas, I'm not sure. So what changed? What happened? I'll tell you what happened. Renee fully embraced the idea of letting the event do for her what she could not do for herself. The reason, we can have all the different building blocks that got up to it, but the catalyst, why is Renee's business right now the biggest volume business in my group? Why? Because she had more people in Dallas than anybody else had, period. And so then she got a chance to go home and be a coach instead of being a cheerleader. That's what happened. So why do I say that? I say it because today is the last day for us to register for Orlando. And by the way, I am completely cognizant of the fact that somebody say, oh my gosh, I've been asked to upgrade to an annual membership. I've been told I need to buy a value pack. I've been told. Folks, I'm trying to help you make money. If there's a single thing that would cause you to spend money that you can't afford that's imprudent, don't do it. I want you to hear that loud and clear. But Renee, you built effectively towards Dallas. And because you did, you had the single greatest outcome in our company in the 2 weeks behind Dallas. So say to people what you think they need to know to make a commitment today to be in Orlando, whether or not they can afford to buy the early bird tickets today. If they can afford it, they should to save the money. But tell us for you, why must they be in Orlando? Based not only upon your career experience, but the last 2 weeks.
It's the biggest belief you will build in your company. You're around people that have this, that are there and believe in this company. You're going to hear about your business. You're going to meet the people that are in charge of your future. And you're going to get to see exactly what we're all about. But not only that, you've got to set the example. If you're going to be a leader, as soon as I saw that those tickets came up, I was hoping I'd be the first one. So I actually got mine in Dallas whenever they,
Right.
first came out. And I was a little disappointed when they announced, oh, congratulations, so-and-so was the first. And I went, oh. But anyway, and I went ahead and I went to get my hotel room and there was a glitch in there. So of course I contacted Eric and I said, Eric, I can't get my hotel room. And of course he fixed it instantly. But yeah, and not only that, we have fun.
Right.
Come on. This is exciting. It's fun. You get to bond with your team. You get to experience outside of the everyday, and you just get to be a part of each other's life. And that's what we're about. It's relationships. You're building relationships. You're getting to be the first to experience new products. You get the benefit of making the commitment. Look at those bundles that we got. We got free samples. These guys are very generous and they're very gracious in helping us build our business. And again, it's just fun. You need to be there. We're going to have a great time. And look, you're saving money and you're going to be there. So if you can, of course, like Randy said, we don't want to stretch anybody's financial, issues. And Lord knows right now it's tough times. So, but if you can do it tonight, make that commitment. You're just going to feel that relief once you do. So.
Thank you, Renee. So folks, our time is spent. I want you to know that in the last several years, but specifically in the last year and a half or two, I have watched Renee walk with grace and dignity through challenging situations, some business related, and a serious illness that her husband David had. It's scary. It is scary. And I watched them as they together walk through that with grace and dignity. And I want you to know that these are people that I trust, I respect, I care for them deeply, I love them. They've been in my home, I've been in theirs, and I don't just invite people into our business. I invite people into my life, and I invite them. I invite myself into other people's lives, and I invite them into my life. And when people they question, so we're going to recruit and recruit and recruit. Well, what is your retention strategy, folks? Don't just invite people into your business. It won't work. Invite people into your life and invite yourself into their lives. Invest yourself in them. Know dogs and cats and moms and dads and little boys and little girls. Know the important issues in a home and in a family. Be one who cares and one who evidences that caring. Our business is the easiest thing in the world if we live it that way. Renee, any final thoughts?
No, thank you, Randy. You went easy on me.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much. I enjoyed this. I'm hoping it was constructive for all of you. Renee, you're the best. See y'all soon.
Beautiful job, you guys. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Loved it. Thanks.
Okay.
Have a great night.
You too.